Good afternoon, everyone. This is Steve Simonetti, Business Development Manager for Revolution Group. Be your host for the discussion today on Cloud ERP. Just a side note, for all those who just joined and are soon to join, please put your phones on mute. We'll have a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar today. But along the way, please feel free to submit your questions throughout the presentation. Just go ahead and plug those into the control panel on your screen. We will do our best to answer all the questions at the end. Just a quick plug on Revolution Group for those of you who don't know who we are. RG is based out of Central Ohio and is a technology solutions provider founded back in '95. We've been successful and grown as a trusted advisor in working with our customers, partners, and in the community to leverage modern technology to a competitive advantage. Our manufacturing and technology consultants work across the U.S., some in Canada, as well as Mexico to help create a unified business solution. We understand that there are hundreds of ERPs in the marketplace, and selecting the right ERP can be somewhat daunting and difficult. RG works agnostically in the selection project, as well as deployment, optimization, and integration of the correct ERP. So when you pick the right ERP, we follow the 80-20 rule. You want the core functionality of the ERP to meet 80% of your business requirements, and the last 20 yards should be found in development or integration and other solutions. I am pleased to welcome Jennifer Kalister, manufacturing consultant with Revolution Group, as well as Tony Brown, Director of Business Solutions with EG Industries, as they share and examine the cloud-based ERPs. I'm going to kick this over to Jennifer to start us off.
Thank you for the intro, Steve, and thanks to everyone who is joining us as well. I did scope out the attendee list, and I saw some CIOs and some quality managers within the manufacturing realm, and so I'm just glad to have other members of the manufacturing family joining us today. As Steve said, my background is in executive leadership, project management, and finance, as you can see here. I started with Rev Group just about 3 years ago. Prior to manufacturing, I was in the technology industry. Specifically, I was the controller for a cloud-based software company. So at the technology company, we were always researching the latest apps, the newest software, and we had the fastest hardware. We thought of ourselves as the cool kids, always knowing what was going on in the modern world. So upon joining Revolution Group, I entered the manufacturing world. I was thrilled watching state-of-the-art technology operate, seeing presses the size of my house bending steel, and watching robot arms throw around sparks like Megatron, but I didn't see a whole lot of technology when it came to the front office. There is so much technology around machineries, tools, and design for the actual production of the products themselves, but there was a true lack of technology in the realm of managing the business itself. So day to day, I see a lot of manual processes. I see Excel spreadsheets, various software used in different departments, and a lot of people spending time digging for data they need just to make their important decisions. And worse yet, when the data is non-existent, which often it is, some people are just guessing. We're not going to name names here, mostly for legal reasons. The good news, though, is that even though there are huge gaps in information and efficiency within the companies I happen to be visiting starting off, most make the decision to head down the road of a cloud-based solution. So I get to see a lot of these gaps being filled and have been seen very happy customers over the past 3 years. So today, we're going to learn a little bit about the benefits of bringing your manufacturing business up to speed with technology and the benefits that cloud-based software can bring. So in addition to my own knowledge and research, back in 2015, Gartner released a report called Strategic Roadmap for Postmodern ERP. That title may or may not make sense to you, but this report defined priorities your manufacturing company would need to set in order to stay in line with current market trends. Specifically, it defines what new technologies you need to know about and which technologies to focus on. The biggest topic was on, no big surprise here, implementing cloud-based ERP. So the report emphasized these 2 steps. Number 1, review and update your current ERP strategy. And number 2, adopting cloud technology. So I believe these steps not only help your company become more efficient and cost-effective, but it is vital to your company in remaining competitive. We will move on to learning about the benefits and advantages to moving all of your critical systems out of your offices, out of your internal data centers, which may or may not be a fancy term for closet storage, you know who you are, and placing it up into the cloud. So by the end of this presentation, you will be able to, number 1, give an assessment of your current ERP or software system. Number 2, know what features are available within modern ERP. Number 3, know what your company should look for in order to make an informed decision. And then we're going to wrap the webinar up with a partner of mine, Tony Brown, who's going to look at a specific ERP system and look at specific solutions that ERP solves in solving problems with their business. So just throwing in a disclaimer here, although much of the information provided is directed at CIOs and technical leaders, and if your head is already swimming with acronyms and technology, have no fear. I believe all decision makers within an organization should be aware of the shift from desktop, single-use, installed, and on-premise software to more modern utilities. So we will go easy on you when it comes to the tech speak. So let's get back to those 2 steps Gartner emphasized in the report. The first one was review and update your ERP strategy. So for those of you who don't know, ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, which is a process software that allows a business to manage activities. The activities that are tracked include both back and front office transactions. Modules, or areas within the software, can range from shop floor to human resources, shipping to receiving, quality to accounting. So it's going to encompass your whole business. You can kind of think of it as a spider, where all of the legs of the spider are going out among different areas of your business, and then the spider itself is a centralized location where all the data is stored. That means when you're reviewing your current ERP software, you must ask yourself, what are all of the systems that we are currently using and for what purposes? Who is logging into what? What data are people entering and where? And more importantly, why? So the first thing you want to do is make a list of the gaps within your current software and what benefits you would like to retain if you switch to a new one. Now, this might seem kind of elementary, but putting it all on paper is very helpful. The second is don't assume anything. You want to interview your end users to determine what day-to-day issues they have in using your current software that maybe you don't even know about, so you don't have to overlook any important details. Then the third thing is think outside the box a little bit. So in a perfect world, what would be great if your ERP could handle? What areas or modules would you like it to cover? So an example might be, we would love full traceability from finished goods all the way back to purchased components after production and possibly during a recall. So when your assessment of your current system or systems is complete, you will start looking at some new solutions. So the next is what systems are available. You'll want to do a complete analysis of what systems are available in general, as well as specific to your market. You can do Google searches, you can use certain software comparison websites, and you can also consult with a consulting group such as ours that will help you analyze different systems. The second would be to ask others in your industry what software they use. You want to find out what rave reviews or deep concerns they have about the software. The third would be to cruise the software provider's website and set up a call with a sales rep in order to get all your questions answered. And then last, pay close attention to the benefits that you wrote down prior and compare to your analysis that you did of your current system. If you're not quite sure where to start on your analysis, by the end of this presentation, you will know what qualities a great cloud ERP has, as well as what features may be beneficial to your company. So I put in a dumb cloud joke because you cannot read an article or shop online without hearing or seeing the buzzword cloud at least once. If we have some CIOs and technical people on the line, you know what I'm talking about. To put it simply, cloud is just a fancy way to say computers sharing resources via the internet instead of having local companies and devices handling data and applications. So what this means is instead of your quote-unquote data center being your broom closet and having on-premise software and hardware, your data is resting safely within the walls of Fort Knox that you access via the internet. So when we're talking about switching to a cloud ERP system, we mean that instead of ordering a software disk, installing it to your desktop, and managing it on your computer or on your in-house servers, you'll be using what's called software as a service. So ERP cloud systems are a type of software as a service, or SaaS, and are hosted by a service provider and made available to you over the internet. You just go online and it's there. So in following Gartner's second step in actually adopting cloud integration technologies, you need to be informed about what makes a successful cloud ERP system. I've defined 9 barometers you can measure any system against to see if the software selected has what it takes. We're going to be spending a little time about each and talking a little bit more in depth. I try to consolidate this a little bit, but I do find that all this information is valuable and you need to be analyzing your ERP against every single one of these things. So we're going to take the time today. Next slide, please. So the first one is network configuration, which means how you set up and access the system. So instead of having software on your own computer, you're going to access your software and the information via the internet using a login from various different devices. So you should be able to access it via your desktop, your laptop, tablets, and even cell phones. So similar to a LinkedIn or a Google, you're just going to go online and it's there. So you can work from any device that is compatible. So if you forgot to check on something before you left work, if your computer or your company allows access, you can do that from home. Now, whether or not you believe working at home is in fact a benefit, that's up to you to decide. The second item is installation, and there is none. You access the system via a browser, just like any other website. In many instances, all you need to access the system is a URL, which is a website address, and a login. Sometimes you might need to configure your browser to allow pop-ups and update security settings, but some ERP providers give you auto configuration, so you don't have to figure that out yourself. So remember, your data is in a data center and not on your desktop. The next slide. The next measure is availability. Availability is the amount of time a system is working at its full capacity during the time in which it is required to do so. So number one is 24/7, anywhere with access. There should be no quote-unquote business hours. The portal door should always be open. As stated above, you can work from wherever, whenever, and in any time zone, and you don't have to worry about your company network being unavailable. Again, your data is stored in a data center, not on-premise. Second is instantaneous availability and responsiveness. You can access your data right away without delay. Response times are as rapid as a website loading, and all employees are running transactions at the exact same time. So you don't need to wait for software upgrades, data to load, or for someone to get into work in order to log in and see data. All of your information is there right away as soon as you log in, and you see what others are doing as they do it if you have access. Uptime, I'm sure you've heard this word before. Same theme as above. Many SaaS options offer 99.98% uptime, meaning that their servers are going through maintenance less than 0.02% of the time. So you don't have to worry about your data not being there when you need it. 99.98% is going to be a lot higher than you having your own server storage facility, because when you are down, it is your responsibility until it is fixed, and that could cause major business interruption. And the last one is real-time data. Everything happens in real time. Benefit is you don't have to wait for uploads, data imports, or rollovers. The data comes in as it comes in, so if someone scans a product in the receiving dock at 11:30 p.m., you're going to see that exactly at 11:30 p.m. Next is manageability, which is the level of human effort required to keep that system operating. So first one, software management. SaaS systems are managed by the service provider. So all that you need in-house is an employee who knows how to use the system, but no longer someone who maintains the hardware for the network. Your updates are done system-wide and most often happen to all users at once without any input from you, the user. There's no need to order upgrade disks or have someone in-house upgrade your software. You should be getting the latest release of the software as soon as they release it without having to wait for updates. Monitoring. The service provider monitors the system, protects from hacks, watches uptime, and looks at the system peaks and valleys. The benefit is someone is looking out for you. And finally, user communities. Many ERP solutions have user groups and communities where users can discuss the software. Everyday customer users, as well as employees of the service provider, can log in and assist each other. They can also post training documentation and discuss current topics and advancements. The benefit is you can have access to a library of information regarding your system, the ability to connect with others within your industry, and ask questions in a forum-like space. Another measurement of successful ERP system is the hardware and software. So you should see decreased expenses. You'll no longer need hardware or servers for ERP storage, and no longer need to kill endless trees because everything is online. So you're going to save money in not having to update hardware every 3 years. You're going to save in admin costs because you no longer need to print shop floor docs or admin reports unless required. You also no longer need to manage software license library. So you can throw away your library of software disks and users are just assigned online. Speaking of consolidation, we talked about using multiple systems across many departments. A good ERP will reduce the amount of total software you use for all aspects of your business. It will have a wide range of modules for different departmental use. The benefit is decreased expenses in maintaining licenses of other software and the ability to see all data together and use data together in one system and to be able to analyze it as a whole. Finally, advanced technology. So advanced ERP systems allow for the ability to use the latest technology. Some offer apps for your tablets and cell phones and offer compatibility with some crazy stuff like wrist and ring scanning devices. Also with location trackers and voice technology. Next slide. The fifth measure is data storage and data retention. So storage. Worries about how much space you have on your server or on your hard drive are no longer necessary. All files and transactional data is stored in the cloud. So you don't have to worry about running out of room or having to buy more space depending on your solution. And then data retention. Your data will always be there, and you can reference transactions that happened 10 years ago, as cloud was very prevalent 10 years ago. As long as the ERP provider keeps your transactional historical data, you have a complete history of your business. Now let's get Debbie Downer for a second and talk about disaster recovery. So emergency plan. Your data should be stored in a data center with a proper plan in place in case of emergency. So ask them about fireproofing, levels of security, etc. You need to rest easy that your data is being protected. Then there's redundancy. So many data centers back up their network or their data in redundant data centers. What I mean is if the data center holding your data is in, say, California and it catches on fire, your provider might also have a duplicate data set of your current data set in another data center in, say, New York that you can use as a backup. So to follow up a little bit more on security, all users should have a unique user ID and password that they use to log in. and usernames can be activated or inactivated immediately if employment status changes. So then timestamping. All users are tracked in the system by name, time, and with date stamps. So if something is entered in the system incorrectly, management can see who created the issue, go to that person to assist in working out the solution. This reduces errors because finger pointing becomes pretty much impossible. So then IP restrictions. This sounds a little bit more complicated than it is. An IP address is basically your computer's street address. Some ERPs allow restricting and allowing access from these different locations. So your question is, what does that do? It prevents things like people clocking in from home or allowing people to see data when they are not in the office. Conversely, you can allow access as freely as you want to management level or executives. And finally, permissions and roles. Users can be users can be assigned specific permissions or belong to groups with other users who share permissions. You can assign a group of employees to a certain work center, but restrict them from others based on skills. The CEO can have access to every module, but the accounts payable clerk may only be able to see the invoicing and payment screens. Sometimes it's the CEO who may need the restriction, but that's another story. Number 8 is scalability. So the service provider manages peaks and values in your data transactions, and it remains stable during high and low transactional times. The benefit is you don't have to worry about lag time due to busy times of the day or because someone in another department is bogging down the system. And then there's utilization. You will have the ability to add and delete users as you need them. So if you expand your users by 10, 50, 100 or more, or open up shop in a completely different country, your ERP system should be able to scale up and down as your business does. And platform, due to ERP cloud solutions being accessible via browsers, they are available cross-platform as long as there's a way to get to the internet. So your users should be able to access the system via Mac or PC, Windows, or on any device that they require. So the final barometer could be the most important, and it relates to business management. So everybody is concerned about inventory management. The good news is your data is available in real time, so your decisions can be made based on today's data and not just when you took your last physical inventory or cycle count. So the benefit is cost savings in purchasing too much inventory, as well as knowing when you're in need of more and not having to deal with stockouts. You also decrease your manual processes, and we all know that when there are manual processes, there's room for error. The benefit is with everything happening online and with assistance of scanners, printers, and computers working alongside your employees, there is less room for error. You're also going to see reduction of usage of the crystal ball. So you have real reporting right now. You're going to have forecasting, production planning, ordering, sales, financial budgeting, and all can be seen while accessing and analyzing your system's data. A good ERP also has supplier and customer portals. So your key suppliers and customers should also be able to access your system if you would allow them to have that permission. The benefit is you have the ability to work closely with your customer and suppliers so everyone is on the same page as far as orders, releases, and invoicing, and allows for EDI transfers or electronic data interchange. Also, suppliers can print your label on your format with your serial number and barcodes. And of course, this is all if you would like that functionality and not required. Then when it comes to key performance indicators or KPIs, again, scheduling, sales and CRM, shipping, quality, finance, sales, maintenance, HR, security, purchasing, inventory, everything's in the same area. Everything will be able to be consolidated or pulled from all areas of the ERP in order to give you information in order to make important decisions. And then finally, the eye in the sky. So you should have complete and total view over the movement of your company. The more parts of your business use the ERP system, the better. So let's review our goals. So far, I hope this gave you some insight onto how to review your current system, as well as what to look for when you research your modern ERP solution. When you're informed, you can make better decisions and you don't have to settle. At this time, I'm going to hand the presentation over to our partner, Tony Brown from EG Industries. He's going to give you some insight as far as how an ERP system, one that we offer as one of our options, how it improved their day-to-day operations at EG Industries. So take it away, Tony.
Thank you, Jennifer. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep, we can, yep.
Great. Thank you so much. Good job, Jennifer. I'm just going to allude a little bit and kind of piggyback off of what Jennifer covered on a high level on a lot of the infrastructure differences between a cloud solution and an on-premise solution, where I have some experience in the day with some on-premise software. And then I just realized a few minutes ago that it's been 10 years since I implemented cloud ERP software by the name of Plex Online, which some of you are probably familiar with. I can't believe it's 10 years already, but it's been a fast 10 years for sure. A little background on EG Industries. Formerly, when I joined the company in 2010, we were about 5 automotive manufacturing sites, and now we are 11 manufacturing sites, and 10 of those 11 sites are implemented with Plex online cloud ERP software. So we offer R&D, design, engineering, obviously manufacturing production processes. Our core competencies, plastic injection molding. We also do some chrome plating, assembly, painting of product, so modular assembly. You can see we do a lot of decorative trim for automotive. We've also ventured out into medical device manufacturing, energy and life sciences, and obviously we brought on some new industrial customers as well, just looking to diversify our company as we are definitely in a growth state right now. So basically, once we started to expand our footprint, being able to come into a company where each of the sites were working as silo companies on their own, being specific to what they do, and rapidly growing as a large company, a cloud platform was a very attractive solution for us because of rapid deployment and bringing these silo companies together with a corporate vision and pulling in and working towards standardization and doing business the same way in a best practice manner. So being a cloud ERP software where a lot of our facilities feed each other with product, having a single database instance that we can all access from anywhere at any time, configuration, security, and a lot of things that Jennifer talked about, really simplified our decision-making process on what type of ERP system we wanted to move forward with. So, the original company I was with, we implemented 3 Plex Online instances, and 3 years into that, I moved to another company that I'm with now with EG Industries. And in the 10-year journey here, where I'm currently at and the company is focused on is, driving our company from an associate-driven company to a process-driven company. So for those of you that are multi-site entities that have a lot of strong A players in a lot of areas and a lot of departments, being able to extract that tribal knowledge they may have that's very valuable to your company, as associates obviously are, being able to extract that and standardize some of those best practices or some of the things that they know that we may not be aware of that they know, or they might not be aware of that they know, and in standardizing those processes in a system that can be documented and created as standard work has been very, very strong initiative of ours that we see a lot of value in, so we can drive a process-driven company in a best practice manner, so we can help our associates from bottom to top grow within the company and continue to make us a preferred partner of innovative solutions. So benefits of modern ERP that I've experienced on a very high level. where this cloud ERP software Plex Online, everything is integrated, and I'm only going to have enough time to really cover some of the inputs that come into the system from the customer. They're obviously very vital to your day-to-day business, down to the manufacturing floor. I won't get into some of the maintenance module or program management modules, or even some of the planning modules, but more of the day-to-day manufacturing processes and what reports do we use to manage some of those efficiencies on a production floor that truly drive our profitability. So we didn't, with Plex, we don't need a snap-on EDI module or licensing with EDI module. It is built in within Plex. And as in the automotive industry, EDI is probably very, very popular with most larger OEMs and even tier 1 suppliers. So as the EDI comes in, it feeds a lot of the transactions and a lot of the modules within the system, obviously with planning, production, and shipping. So being able to utilize even things like supplier EDI within Plex to automate those transactions of our suppliers and help drive the supply chain, the value stream mapping, supplier scorecards, and really where we've really leveraged a lot on supplier EDI is just our intercompany transactions, where we can drive through some of our traceability engineers, drive through multiple, what we call PCNs, multiple sites of our sister plants, and root cause maybe some lot traceability or resin lot issues we may run into, and we can solve a lot of our own problems just because we're working from the same database instance. So with that, overall, that's improving the value stream, like I discussed, increasing visibility at the process level, reducing those inventory fluctuations. So we're really utilizing the MRP module to develop a plan for every part and driving that across all facilities so we can continue to be lean, continue to trust the data in the system, and a lot, what we call basically a lot less firefighting. So obviously your customer demands driving those orders, driving the intercompany and subcontract schedules, and in a lot of our cases too, where we may subcontract certain parts or processes with our partners, they can utilize this cloud-based system to do drop shipping, and that feeds our system where we don't have to do imports, data imports, or data dumps, or file transfers like Jennifer talked about before. So this is possible with clean customer demands tied directly to the shop floor inventories, like Jennifer said, in real time. So one of the what we call kind of the heart of Plex is what we call the control panel. So this is when we do site visits or people looking at Plex cloud solution, what we show typically on a production floor, because it's a part of our everyday business, is the control panel. This is what the operator interacts with, and the visibility that they have here basically is to the job up here, what the job number they're working on for that particular part, what the part number is, what the part name is, what operation they're currently in, what the standard pack is, and what the standard pack box is, all in this screen. You can utilize part images to identify visuals of the part, helping us drive paperless, no work orders, no job packet going from work center to work center. Everything's driven from a computer screen on the production floor. Obviously identifies what work center we're currently at working with, what the status of that work center is. We'll talk a little bit more about that, what that drives with your uptime, your efficiency, downtime analysis and such. Basically, where are you at with your plan on that job? So in this case, which I wish all of our work centers were this way, but so far in this shift, we should have produced 94 pieces. We've currently produced 120 at this time. So we are performing 128%, and we have 240 pieces left in this particular job. So a quick snapshot of knowing what's going on. Who's clocked in right now, who's the operator that is our labor working at this particular work center. So labor tracking is collected. I could click into here and go into the work center log and kind of find out what the history's been for this particular shift or any particular date range I want. I can do work request into the PM module. I can pull up any work instruction or any type of documentation whether it's program information, anything that I want to share with setup techs, anybody that would be interacting with the production floor with this particular part. I can leverage all of that documentation through the Plex document control system that is ISO compliant with document approvals. So I don't have multiple copies floating around a production floor, multiple copies on a server. It's all contained through the document control system within Plex, and then linked to these parts that it's relevant to, or customers that it's relevant to, and I can tie those right to this production control panel at the work center. Suggestion system, we currently utilize this for, basically we want to communicate safety, we want to communicate problems on the floor, maybe some continuous improvement ideas. Basically it's an employee suggestion system that then once they put that in, it routes, when they select the type of suggestion it routes to that champion of that particular part in the plant level. And then the gauge integration, if that's something that's important to your facility, where we have a gauge integration module where it tracks, making sure calibrations are being done on time. And if they're not being done on time, it has the control and validation of not allowing that gauge to be used for this particular process because it's out of spec, because it has not been calibrated in the appropriate amount of time. The bulletin over here, you can communicate bulletins per part, per work center, or plant-wide if there's plant meetings and this or that. Quality alerts is something we use this in particular for. And then, of course, the check sheets. So if there's an in-process check sheet that you want the operators maybe to validate something that they have to do every hour during the job, that check sheet will turn yellow. It won't allow them to continue to record production until they fill that check sheet out. Maybe it's a first setup. Maybe they need to weigh parts at the beginning of a job run. Maybe they need to measure parts. Maybe they need to scan what tools they're using to run that particular job. All in all, on the quality side, basically what it boils down to is validating your process of what you say that you're going to do at the work center. And the piece of these check sheets do is you can drive, you can force those validations depending on the severity and create reaction plans that people have to follow, or they cannot record production. They can't get the labels for their containers that they need. And for those that know in the automotive industry, that's very, very important to have containers for your labels that you're producing parts for. So that's an overview of the control panel, and a lot of those inputs that go into that control panel drive a lot of these reports that I'm going to show here. So Plex OEE performance report, OEE is obviously very important. Operational equipment efficiency is very important in automotive and in most production facilities that run lean manufacturing. It reveals 3 components of operating efficiencies. Obviously, it draws in quality into your performance. Availability of that work center if you're going down a lot for various reasons, and obviously performance. So if they're running at a slower cycle time than they would be with the standard, it factors all those in and drives you a percentage based on what maybe your standard rate is or your production rate is. We as a company do it against what we call ideal rate. So what could the press run for button to button 100% with no downtime, no changeovers, no scrap. If we could run it at 85%, that would be considered world class. So we use that and try to measure our presses to get as close to 85% efficiency as possible. And once again, as Jennifer noted, real time. OEE is a near real-time report. It's typically a daily report, but Plex does update this every 4 hours. But a lot of the data that's going into that control panel, you can get efficiency reports in real time if you want them. The OEE report, with the extensive data crunching that it does, is a near real-time, what we call a near real-time report. So into that scrap realm, there's different ways to slice and dice scrap within Plex. There, I'm going to show you a couple examples of scrap reporting. This particular one's a Pareto analysis chart. You can check it by work center. You could check it by scrap reason if that's important to your business to know what reasons are eating your lunch and what parts are tied to those reasons. And obviously you can break it down by part and then down by reason. By quantity, by scrap cost, by percent, whatever there again, I haven't found too many any cases where you can't break that scrap down into the type of a model that fits your business. Another popular scrap report we use is those that like the matrix. We use is the scrap summary by parts. So we get a lot of PPMs against this by parts produced, by parts shipped, and then obviously it breaks down your reasons, and then that gives us scrap percentage by part as well. So where that broke down before was those check sheets. So if I drilled into one of those check sheets, this would be an example of one of those where we like to validate, especially in today's market. There's a lot of turnover in certain sectors of the country where business is growing. A lot of people are moving up to other jobs, good operators moving on to better paying jobs. It's just kind of that cycle we're in right now where turnover is prevalent. We bring in new people, we train them to the best that we possibly can, but we also want to validate when they get put onto a work center. We want just simple validations that they know at the core basics. They know what is required to do that particular job. Do they have the right colored bins at their work center? Do they know what the standard pack of those bins are? Just little things. You know, can you scan in the tools that you're using via barcode into these check sheets? But then even the quality department comes by and does their own process validations. And I've highlighted a simple validation we do of part weight. So at a startup, we weigh 5 parts. And as they're going within that control panel, weighing those 5 parts or measuring those 5 parts or doing that or measuring that cycle time, it gives us the opportunity with no paper to validate those process questions. And this is all data collection that's being put into this same database. So there's no QI analyst or data pack required, no third-party labeling tools required. And this is all driving into the SPC module that we use. So behind the scenes, without, like I said, without extra data entry or paper being used, we can run X-bar&R, we can do histograms, however we want to be able to measure those validations. You know, going back to those KPIs that Jennifer was talking about. Standard Cost Activity Report, famous acronym in Plex called the SCAR report, allows users to see variances at each posted transaction. So someone makes an adjustment on inventory, you know, maybe changes a bill of material, any of those type of validations or processes you have in place. There's checks and balances behind Plex. There's reports to be able to see what accounts those transactions are being allocated to. So it gives you a drill down view of your cost activities. What scars are you putting into your, you know, creating in your system? The gross margin report allows users to see what shipped and the quoted margins. It pulls in materials costs, obviously the labor, fixed and variable overhead. You can slice it by customer, by part type, however you want to do that. The Plex production status screen, like I talked about a little bit in the control panel, the work center status in the top right-hand corner, where we showed we were running in a production status. This is a pretty important screen for us to understand on a shop floor in real time what's going on, what is the plan so far, what is produced, what is the performance. It's a summary view of my production floor where we're at. And in this case, I've got C2s down right now for no operator. If that's a critical press, I see that in real time. I know how to react, and I know that I need to react to that. The Plex part cost structure report, a simple breakdown view of your standard part costs. How are the numbers being calculated? How are these costs being rolled up through multiple operations? Where's my labor being allocated? Where's the bill of materials at? How is it costing those bill of materials? Are the component costs correct? Do I have the right quantity per part in here? Gives me, in this algorithm over here, rolls it up for me, gives me a selling price, gives me a nice structured view of my part costs. Labor variance reports, if you want to utilize an ADP solution or some other cloud-based payroll system, which most of them are going to, there's some integration opportunities through web services to use the employee list and HR module within Plex, so you're not doing data and dual data or redundant entry of employees into both systems. There's definitely some integration pieces there. Plex is not a payroll system, so you would typically integrate something that's geared towards that and utilize web services to eliminate any redundant data entry for both systems. In the 20% rule they talked about before, writing custom applications or custom reports to get what may fit your business better than what some of the thousands of canned reports that Plex may have. We did develop one with the Rev Group called the Intelliplex Scrap Analytics Report, where we have bars, not work centers, in a particular facility where we can gauge scrap down to a bar level. That's important to us to have that near real-time visibility so we can react to a particular bar creating scrap that we may not have been able to see in a legacy system. That is integrated within Plex, so the production's automated. If there's temperatures wrong in a tank, if there's voltages wrong on a bar, the PLCs can see that. They can tell Plex that. Plex can put those containers on hold in the system, so when they drop down, the associates on a board see that through Plex and see that they can't process that they need to be put in through thermal cycle testing to validate that the voltage or temperatures that were off outside tolerance levels need to go through a validation process through integration. So speaking about a little bit about integration, innovation, so some of the things that we currently are using and leveraging with Plex is machine integration, so real-time work center status monitoring and performance, automated inventory transactions, obviously drive more accuracy when you have PLCs that know standard pack, know quality validated poke-yoke systems that are driving quantities and quality and giving you a validated label for every part. That then gets tied to a final container label. Light guide systems for pick and pack processes that are sequenced with the EDI that's coming in from the customer. That's driven through a third-party system that's integrated within Plex. And then obviously the document control system pulling in the quality system, linking those operator work instructions with standard forms that standard processes that I showed on the control panel. And then what's next? We actually have finished this report, what we call our cost value add report, where we've actually consolidated a lot of those reports that I showed before, and we're starting to utilize this particular report that the Rev Group developed for us to capture a lot of those scrap efficiencies, OEE, labor rates, and give us visibility to a job where we may have some gaps that we need to do some countermeasuring on gross margin or material cost or labor variances if we have to maybe put more labor on a particular job to compensate for flash or an extra processing. That gets captured in this report, so we're not surprised at the end of the month. And so reviewing those goals, right back to what Jennifer said, assessing the ERP, what are the features available? What are you looking for? Ways of cloud ERP solves business problems. I believe now we can open it up to questions, and if Rev Group or Jennifer have any other things they'd like to add before we do that, feel free. But that closes my my section of this presentation.
Thank you very much, Tony and Jennifer, both for your time. It does look like we have a couple questions coming through, and I'll tee them up for either yourself, Tony, or Jen to go ahead and deliver. So the first one looks like, what are the biggest challenges you face when implementing an ERP?
I can start this one off, Tony, but I'd like to hear your experience as well.
Okay.
I think the biggest challenge that I face is just the way that a company might handle change management within the company. We know that a lot of times on the shop floor there are people that have been there for 20 or 30 years that have been doing things the same way for that amount of time. So it's difficult for them to see change and to accept it. So we have certain processes and ways that we assist in that process. And the biggest thing is just to get their buy-in. So making sure that those people are included in the process, and not excluding them and then presenting, hey, this is what you're going to be doing, but pulling information from them in order to, number one, because we need it from them, because they're the people doing the job, but also to get their buy-in and for them to feel included in the process, and not just that something new is going to be dumped in their lap that they need to learn how to use. So I would say that's probably the biggest challenge that I have, but I also love seeing it come together, and I love seeing users afterwards say, that was actually pretty easy, but it's all about managing the process, which we do very well.
Yeah, Jennifer, I would agree with that as well. In my experience of 13 implementations, the biggest challenges that we've run into is definitely change management, and where that comes into play is definitely, yes, engaging the associates in that. I have run into very, very few users that have actually interacted with Plex, and once they understand how the system works, I don't know of a user that would go back to the old system. So the product does sell itself if it's configured properly and trained properly. So my advice to anybody starting new would be making sure your plant level processes are documented, that they're standardized, that tribal knowledge is extracted. So doing some process flows of everybody understanding what the expectation is, and then implementing Plex to meet that. And where Plex doesn't meet that, where the change point comes in, is everybody understanding that they may have to change a process to meet things like serialized containers that have to be accounted for in each of the operations that they go through. So there may be more scanning that has to take place, but then again, the selling piece of that is, and then that's more traceability and better inventory control. So, and as long as the team and the plant level leadership has the buy-in and understanding of why we're doing this and getting to that end goal of, everybody taking ownership and having a strong team in place, and having those A players having enough free time to dedicate towards an implementation, are all very important to be successful.
Great answers, both of you. Great answers, and we appreciate that. And in respect for everyone's time, I know we're gearing down towards the 3 p.m. cutoff. We'll ask one last question. And Tony, you briefly mentioned quantifying the return and cost benefits, and I'll tee that up with this last question. Is there an ROI or way you can quantify typical savings if and when implementing a new ERP?
So not knowing their infrastructure, over our 11 sites, our infrastructure on a high level was basically, the licensing piece of any type of on-premise software times 11 sites. When you want to expand that system to the shop floor, scan product in more locations, add more accessibility to more users, more accessibility to more work centers, using a lot of these SPC labeling, PM modules, labor tracking, all the licensing of hardware that goes around all of those. Collect and don't let any stone go uncovered. Collect those costs that currently happen and some of the restrictions that you run into, and then the management behind all those, and then topple that with all the different servers that are required to run all of those applications, and the Microsoft software behind that, where Plex just completely eliminates all of those nuances and basically allows you to have open access through a browser with no on-premise software. So the redundancy, the backups, the licensing, the hardware, the server turnaround, all the labor that goes around managing all those on-premise applications and on-premise hardware that goes around that. Collect all of that. So just make high level notes of those, and then pull those together, and the ROI comes together pretty quickly after that.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I just want to say that at Rev Group, we do have a pretty robust ROI document and worksheet that we use with our clients that lists pretty much everything that Tony just said. That gives you all the components of what an on-prem solution would be or what you're currently using, your risks that it presents currently, any issues that you might have, and then we actually also put in benefits as far as what time saves or what cost saves going forward. So we offer ERP agnostic selection services for you to decide on what ERP system that you would like. And as Tony mentioned, we offer Plex and also NetSuite as well.
Great. Thank you both for your time. And again, in respect for everyone's time, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. If anyone has any further questions or would like to further discuss any points discussed today with your technology or manufacturing needs, please do not hesitate to reach out to Revolution Group. Once again, thank you, Jennifer and Tony, for presenting, and thank you all for joining. Have a great end to your Thursday.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.